So just a bit of a trigger warning. Obviously on this channel we speak mental health. There'll be all sorts of topics come up within the conversations on here with the guests I have. So just a trigger warning. Obviously, if it's not your thing, mental health discussions and mental health topics, the whole aim of this channel is to raise awareness for sensitive subjects, really, and try and help people watching who may be going through similar situations or heartache as the guests I'm going to have on here. So just like I say, a bit of a warning. If that's not your sort of thing, that's absolutely fine. Maybe just turn it off now. But if you're here for that, that's brilliant. And like I say, we'll get into it. Thank you. Hello, welcome back to Full Time to Talk. I'm super happy today to be joined by one of my best pals on the scene, Darren from onlyleedsbros. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks very much for having me on there. I was expecting you to say, imagine not being Leeds. It's too weird to hear you saying full time. But I just said, we spoke about it when you set the channel up, and you have my full support with this, mate, because it's a massive thing, isn't it? Mental health nowadays, and still to be in 2025, there's such a stigma about it. When the word mental health comes up or someone says the word mental health, you automatically think, oh, there's something wrong with that person or they're broke. But mental health is like people. It comes in all different shapes and sizes, and it's never the same for one person. You could be going through similar things, but it's never the exact same for each people. And sometimes your mental health could just take a bang because you had a bad day in work, like what we spoke about before there. Your alarm might go off late and you might be late for work, and then you're just having a bad day, and that affects your mental health and all that as well. So fair play to you, buddy, for setting us up, because there's definitely not enough out there about it.
Yeah, really appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. It's great to have you on as my second guest. Cheers. I know you can elaborate on a point, so it'll make my life a lot easier.
I'll try.
But it's one of them, like, I always look at you, mate, and I think you're one of those lads. I think, obviously, I haven't known you for years. I've known you probably about 9-10 months.
Less than 12 months, yeah.
You.
Feels like years. Feels like years.
Won't be long, it'll be 12 months. But you always come across to me like one of those people who's got everything in check. I feel like on the surface, you look like calm, cool and collected. Everything's hunky-dory in Dylan's world, but, you know, he scratched beneath that surface and people are struggling. You know, people are, I've wore a mask for many a year, mate, and speaking to you, I always feel like you're on top of everything. And even, you know, we're going to touch on one of the main things, you know, what's making you struggle these days, which is obviously the loss of your dad, which we'll go into recently. But just in general, mate, you know, like you say, mental health, we speak quite a bit on just in general life. Leeds United as well, obviously been a massive Leeds United fan yourself. And, you know, we talk about gyms and you know, your fitness and your physical fitness and all that. There isn't nothing really when it comes to mental health other than just having people brave enough to share their stories, mate. That's the only thing you've really got. And can you hear someone express and speak about their problems and their issues and maybe even their triumphs, and can you connect with that, and can it spur you on to do something similar? Can you take strength from that story? And that's why I think this is really important, that I get people on who's going through stuff, been through stuff, you know, and ultimately still here, mate. You're still fighting every day, but every day still a struggle in it. But just to touch on mental health in general, pal, like before the loss of your dad, how did you view mental health? You know, did you struggle as a dad with stress, with work, just the general stuff? Before this, obviously, the passing of your dad recently, mate, how did you view mental health in general?
I think when I was younger, like probably most young men, is that when someone kind of brings up their mental health, you know, you automatically, I don't know why, but it's kind of built in you to kind of think, oh, there's something, you know, there's something kind of wrong with them. You don't really kind of talk about your mental health. You don't really talk about your feelings, you know, whatever's going on upstairs, you'll sort it out yourself and stuff like that. But I remember kind of my first kind of real kind of eye opener to mental health was, I think it was probably about 16, 17 years of age, and a cousin of mine and Dylan committed suicide, same age as us. And that was massive. That was a massive eye opener. Now, we weren't particularly close to him, but like that, it was always kind of family parties, and you'd see him and we'd have each other on Facebook, and we kind of grew up together as kids. And that was a massive eye opener, you know, left like mom and dad behind, two brothers and stuff like that, a girlfriend. And he obviously just felt like that was it. There was, that was the only answer. The only way out was, obviously, doing away with himself, and to kind of put it
16.
bluntly. And at 16, and he never kind of really spoke to his parents about it. His parents didn't really know. He knew with a couple of issues and something like that, kind of just got into a bad group of friends and stuff like that. But I remember that was kind of my first real kind of eye opener of mental health. And I remember for a couple of months, I remember kind of thinking to myself, like, how can your mental health how can you kind of let yourself get that bad? How can
Yeah.
you let yourself get to that point of, not kind of wanting to live anymore? How is there not just one thing that makes you say that, look, I want to stay here? My one thing was obviously, Leeds United. I want to see how Leeds' next match is
Yeah.
going to go. Like, that
Yeah.
was my sort of thing. And, we've got a football match the weekend. I want to see how I play with that and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it's different, and different people can deal with different types of pressure. But I think the big thing is, Matt, you need a good support group around you when things get too much, but you also need to be willing enough to be able to talk to someone
100%.
and open up. And even when it's the smallest little thing that's festering, you need to say it, you need to speak about it, because the smallest thing can lead to a very, very big thing, and you can spiral out of control. And then by the time it's spiraled, it's very hard to tell someone how bad it's actually got. So share the problem straight away, get it out there, speak to loved ones, anyone, a friend, a pal, a stranger. Just talk to someone once it gets too
It,
much. So that was my first kind of encounter then with kind of mental health, my first kind of realization with it.
that's an unbelievable story. I didn't know that, man. That's crazy at 16. It's so sad. Like you say, it sounds like such a simple tonic. Just speak. Anyone can speak. It's just go speak to someone. Anyone. Like I say, I mean, I speak to some people, mate, and they're a big advocate. It has to be the right person. I'm the opposite. I think just telling anybody to start with, because that could lead you. I mean, obviously, my circumstance. It was a total stranger. That led me on now to being who I am today and where I am today. And that was just a total stranger I opened up to. And then obviously that spurs you want to speak to a loved one, but it's so difficult to open up. I mean, depending what the situation is, it can be more difficult. But usually, what you tend to find is it's not as big a problem as you think. And when it's just you festering away, you can't see wood for trees, and you genuinely don't know which way to turn. So when it's out in the open, all of a sudden you get someone's opinion, someone can point in the right direction. All of a sudden you start getting that help, and ultimately, I always say it like the thought of going to someone's funeral as opposed to sorting someone's mess out, whatever it is, whether it's financial mess, whatever it is going on in their life,
Yeah.
the thought of going to the funeral as opposed to just facing the problems head on and helping them through that. If you're a true friend, a family member, it's chalk and cheese.
There.
You're going to pick that. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is, pal. If you've got that support system, which hopefully everyone's got at least one person, mate, and it's just about opening up, and you bang on money with that, mate. Honestly, it's flawed with that, to be fair. Hearing that about your cousin at 16, it's no age. It's absolutely no age at all. So
Massively.
sad.
And yeah, as I said, like, that was kind
So
of the
sad.
first real kind of eye opener. And then kind of after that, then, in school, then we used to do a lot of like stand up, speak up and stuff like that in school. And,
really?
that's when it kind of start really kind of coming into the world kind of over here in Ireland, then, is that like it's okay to kind of speak about your mental health. But there still is a select few there, there still is a bit of a stigma about us. Like, I'm sure it is everywhere in the world. When someone kind of says mental health, it's automatically defaulted in the back of your head to kind of think, oh, there's something wrong with this person. But there's not, and we all suffer from it. And you touched on it there, Mike. It's very much nail on the head, is that everywhere you go, if you drive through any town, you'll see a gym there, there's personal trainers all over, social media doing all that. And our mental health is just as important as our physical health as well, because if you're not up there mentally, you're not going to be there physically, and it can completely spoil. So there's not enough there today. So I told you this the other day, is that there was an opportunity with us in work to go do a mental health first aider course, and it was a 2-day course for me, and I jumped on it straight away. And obviously we'll get into my kind of stuff with mental health recently, but learned a lot about it, because it was interesting to kind of find out the different types of mental health. Because people automatically think, when you say I'm suffering from my mental health, you think straight away, is like, right, all right, it's depression or it's suicidal. And it's not that. It comes in all types of forms. You have anxiety, you have people with OCD, PTSD, depression, eating disorders, bipolar. There's so much that can affect. And then it could just be the little thing like money stress, that the smallest little thing. So it comes in all forms, and grief and that as well. So it was a brilliant course, and I'd advise anyone, if you can go do it. And probably even saying mental health first aid, you're probably like, what is that? So think about the ambulance man coming to help someone that's physically hurt. So you're there, you're the first point of contact to help them out, to basically put them onto the right people, the right sort of you know, whether it's Andy's man club, anyone to kind of go and talk to. So it's pointing them in the right direction and kind of little tips, not kind of like a therapist way, but kind of how to speak to people, how to approach people. But it was very, very good. So if you ever get the chance to go be a mental health first aid or even do a course about mental health, I'd advise anyone to go do it, because the more people that do it, the more people that know the part of the world is going to be for it.
No, 100%, mate. I totally agree. It's something I put my name forward for at work. I think a lot of workplaces are trying to get multiple people with that. Like you say, it's massive, and every workplace, every walk of life, somebody knows someone struggling. Whether they know it or not, there's always someone struggling, mate. You're never too far away from someone going through something. And yeah, I'm buzzing, mate. I'm buzzing that you've done that. Like you say, you opened up to me, told me about it, and it's something now I've put my name forward to go on back of you doing it. So anyone watching this, if there's an opportunity here, anything like that, your workplace, go do it. You know, it's a great thing, that, buddy. So obviously, I know you're happily married. You've got 2 beautiful kids. You've got a legend of a little brother. A lot of pressure there, just in general, mate. Family life, work, and all that. But obviously, recently you lost your dad, which is something I can't even imagine, to be honest. And you reached out to me pretty soon after. And yeah, one of those moments where I didn't know what to say other than just, I'm sort of here for you if you need to chat. And it sort of brought us a little bit closer after not speaking as much at that time. So in my eyes, something good came out of it in terms of you rekindling a couple of relationships we spoke about since then, because as you know, life's too short. But yeah, it upset me, mate. I won't lie. I'm welling up, and now even talking about you losing your dad, I don't really know what to say, which isn't good on a mental health podcast, but it makes me emotional, mate. Just even thinking about you losing your dad at your age, it's hard. And just sort of open up and tell us, because like I say, there'll be someone watching this hopefully who can take strength from your situation, because let's be fair, we all have loss in his life at some point. I've lost grandparents, which at 37 going on 38 is probably where I should be in life. At some point I'll lose my parents, and yeah, just the floor's yours, buddy.
Yeah, as you said, mate, like, unfortunately, the thing is about life is that we're all going to end up in the same place, and the rest of us are kind of left behind to kind of to deal with that kind of grief and kind of navigate our way through it. And the truth, I'll bring you kind of back to kind of the start and kind of my kind of dealings with grief. So back in 2019, my dad's mom, my nanny, passed away in 2019 from cancer. She was battling cancer for a long time, and she was clear, and then she got it back, and she eventually passed away. And at the time, we had a family holiday booked to go to Orlando, probably the furthest point away. And she was having ups and downs, and I remember going seeing her on the Wednesday and sat on the side of the bed beside her. My nanny was like, as you can imagine, a little nanny. I used to call her the queen, because the way she used to dress, it all the colour-coded suit. She'd have the curls in and all that, typical kind of type of nanny. And she'd be slipping you fivers, without me granda scene and stuff like that. And there was always dinner on the table and desserts and all stuff like that. I was always telling her that I put on all the weight because of you, But yeah, I went down to kind of see her that Wednesday, and I don't really know why. I don't know why what happened, but I remember just ringing me boss on the Tuesday saying, "Can I have tomorrow off work? I want to go down and see me nanny." And I don't know why. Still to this day, I speak about it with Amy, because I was only newly with Amy at the time, and I don't know what it was, but I just wanted to go see her. And she was okay at the time. There was no real kind of slump. She was, alert, awake, still eating and stuff like that. And told her about going to Orlando, and she said, "Yeah, go and have a good time." And I was like, "I'm afraid of leaving you," and stuff like that. "No, I'll be fine," and stuff like that. And literally, as soon as I got on the plane, on my way to Orlando, landed in New York, and was getting calls and texts about. Then he was after taking a turn. Basically, she was kind of going into a coma, kind of sort of state, breathing, and there wasn't too much time left. So I was stuck in the middle of New York, a connection flight either on to Orlando, or trying thousands to try and get back to Dublin. And luckily enough, I said, "Look, I'll try and get onto my destination, Orlando. It'd be easier trying to get back out of Orlando down kind of in New York here, hustle and bustle. Let's try and get to Orlando, get the rest of the family there," because there was loads of us going, my mum and stepdad and stuff like that, and cousins, and Dillo was there as well. So got on to Orlando, and had a bit of a perk me up. So it was kind of one of them, was kind of day by day, and it felt kind of wrong, because trying to get back to Ireland, the money was absolutely crazy just for one flight for me to try and get home myself. I mean, in the thousands, mate. And of course, just didn't have it. It just didn't have it. We were budgeting for everything all these days, and eventually went home. 2 days early because she was ups and downs. There was days where she was coming back. There was days she was slumping. There was days I was going home. There was days I was going to the airport, and now she's okay. And it was just all over the place and stuff like that. And unfortunately, she passed away while I was over there, and when I was scheduled to come home 3 days early, and that was probably one of my biggest regrets. I think I was 23 at the time, about 24 at the time, and that was a massive regret of mine that I wasn't there, at the side, and that flight home, the whole way home, it's 9 hours, whatever, from Orlando home, the whole flight, myself and Amy just sat in silence. I just couldn't speak, didn't cry, and there was obviously thought there was something up me, like why am I crying? That was my first big loss in my life.
Yeah.
So landed in Dublin and stuff like that. Sister came collect me as soon as she sees me. She's bawling and crying, and I'm still not crying. Why am I crying? You know, my nanny, the apple of my eye. You know, this little doubt that was basically my second mom. Why am I crying? What's going on here? And it's all these new emotions in your body. You're like, what am I feeling here? She obviously went and seen her and stuff like that and cried a little bit, but not really fully the way that I kind of expected me to kind of feel. And that was, they obviously say about the 7 stages of grief is obviously, like, first of all, it was denial, and at the time I didn't know what 7 stages of grief was, and that's what it was denial. I just felt like I could see me nanny there, but I failed to believe, you know, what was going to have to happen. And so I'll fast forward a little bit, all the details, and then for probably about 3 years after that, I bottled everything up. When any thoughts of me nanny came into my head, I'd suppress them. I'd automatically, I'd distract myself straight away. Like, if she came into my head, I'd put on a song, you know, throw a song on, go do something, go do a workout, go for a walk, go for a run, anything at all to not think about my nanny I done, because I thought that was the way to kind of deal with it. And I suppressed it for years. Amy tried to bring her up a lot with me as well, and I just didn't really speak. I'd kind of just be like, yeah, no.
It's so sad, that, mate, because it keeps the memory alive, doesn't it? If you can speak, it's so sad that you felt that.
It was wrong. So myself and Amy then went away 3 years later. Then we went away, we were away on holidays, and I could feel myself bubbling at the corner. I was really, really struggling with, one, the guilt of not being there by our side, and then 2, to even begin to kind of process, you know, what was going to have to happen, and to go through all that stages of grief. You know, your sadness, depression, your anger, your irritability was all kind of suppressed. So we went away, we were away on holidays, and it all just came out all in just in one sitting with Amy. And it was the first time I ever cried in front of Amy, and just thank God she was there. And because my emotions that night, I'm not saying that I was suicidal, but there was a feeling there of, you know, what's the point of life anymore? And, you know, this is when my dad was still around at the time, and I remember ringing him straight after when I was away, and he was just like, Darren, look, just get home and let's speak about it when you get home and stuff like that, because he was always there for me. He was always one of them. He was, you know, the foundations of my life. And basically what I done then after that, I went up to the grave, brought myself a little chair, sat down beside my nanny in the pissing rain for 2 hours, and just apologised for not being there by her side, just to get that weight off my shoulders. And I walked out of that graveyard a completely different man, because that guilt was pulling me under for 3 years, and eating me up inside for 3 years, and I never spoke about it. And I was afraid to tell everyone that it was eating me up inside, because then, like, it was always going to be, well, it's not your fault, you know, you weren't going to be there. But to me, it was my fault. To me, it does, and I didn't want people telling me it wasn't my fault, because, like, I don't want to hear that, because I know it is. I know I shouldn't have been there. But it was just one of them things in life. And just after that moment, I kind of changed. And I always kind of said it to Amy after that, is that if I ever lose anyone in the future, I was never going to let that happen again. I was never going to, because it was a shadow of the person that I was, you know, 3 years before that, because for 3 years it just completely consumed me. And I swore it was never gonna happen again. And then obviously just, only 12 weeks ago then I got the call. Matty, as you said, reached out to you almost instantly. Was in work, and was out doing a couple of deliveries. I work in car sale parts, so I was delivering a couple of parts for a truck, and got the call from my dad's partner. And my mum and dad are split up. Got the call from my dad's partner, and she wouldn't usually kind of call me. She'd kind of just text and stuff like that. So I knew there was something seriously wrong when I got the call. And she just gave me the news, just saying, Darren, I'm sorry, but your dad's gone. And I was like, what? Look, what do you mean he's gone? I'm driving this car, you know, down a busy motorway, a busy dual carriageway, and like nearly cleaned the tree over, because, like, literally just let go of the steering wheel, mounted the path, jumped out of the car onto the road, and was just on my hands and knees in balls of tears.
Yeah.
I think I probably walked about 1 kilometer up the road, holding my head and hands, running back down the road, screaming. I remember this lady was like saying to me, "You okay, son? You okay, son?" I couldn't even look at her, couldn't even speak,
Wow.
and phone was just ringing, trying to ring everyone, like, help, how do I get there? About half an
Yeah.
hour away from where my dad lived, and stuff like that. Now, luckily enough, to have a cousin of mine, Lynette, you'd know her, mate, she comes over
Yeah.
to Leeds with
Yeah.
us a
Yeah.
good bit, and again, she's been a rock, like, through all this. She's one that I can
Mm.
really speak to, and she was
Brilliant.
there for me straight away, and brought me down to my dad. And yeah, unfortunately, he passed away. We think that he knew it was heart disease. Basically, is what it came back as, heart disease, and obviously
Did you
ultimately
know
led
we're poorly,
to.
Darren?
About two
Yeah.
weeks before that, my dad was one of them where he wouldn't be socially awkward, but he doesn't do big crowds and stuff like that. Not since my nanny passed away and that as well, because he
Right.
definitely struggled in that regard. So,
Right.
it was Sam's party, fourth birthday party, and he'd be one of them that wouldn't really come, especially my mom's side, the family and stuff like that. He was just that type of man where he would always kind of just steer clear of kind of parties and stuff like that. But he'd always ring and say happy birthday.
Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
card there if you pop down to me, or I'll see you next week, or whatever it may be. And he showed up at my door, and that was a big kind of taken back from me and Amy. It was kind of like, gee, like, you never told me you were coming. He was like, said I'd pop down and that. And just the whole day, kind of the way he was, obviously, of like this bit of a man cave out here. It was his first time coming down and seeing it, and he loved all the Leeds bits, and he had a couple of points of Guinness and stuff like that, and a game of darts. He hadn't played darts in years, but I was just getting this feeling it was just weird for him to be here around that kind of crowd of people, and he wanted photographs with, like, everyone. I'd take a
Wow.
photo here, photo there on the wall of myself, Dylan, and him, giving him a Leeds jersey for his 60th birthday party, and right outside my front door. And that was, little did I know, that was the last time I was going to see him. And at it's funny because it's typical of myself and dad. So the keg of Guinness was finished here. So a cousin of mine, who obviously wasn't drinking, said, "Look, we'll go get another one." And all, the night was still young and that, and we were going a half an hour to drive to get another keg up towards the north of Ireland. And my dad was getting into his wife's car, and he just looked at me. He just goes, "You're a mad fucker, you," and jumped into the car. And I just said, "I'll ring you later, Dad." And that was it. That was the last time I ever spoke
Do,
to him. And
do you feel like that were his way of knowing this were coming, and this were
yeah,
a goodbye from your dad?
yeah, massively. Yeah, massively for me, because that's what I
Wow.
said. It was weird, but it's something that I cling to now. It's something that helps me through the grief, knowing that I had that moment with him.
Yeah.
Like, even here, like that, we had a couple of points of Guinness, and there's a drink over here called brandy and port. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Probably the old kind of old age drinkers would know what it is. It's a proper old Irish man's drink, and
Yeah.
he had one of them, and we had a bit of laugh, and a couple of other kind of naughty kind of father and son kind of chats that was kind of going on and stuff like that here. But just great memories. But it was, as I said, mate, it was like he knew it was coming. It's like he knew. I think he was in the hospital 2 weeks before that. I think they probably gave him the news of, you kind of had heart disease, that it wasn't really too good, and stuff like that. And then ultimately it kind of led to the heart attack at just the age of 60. So as you imagine, like a massive shock that you get this call, and it's firstly, how do you kind of process it? Where do I go from here? Trying to put it all together, because obviously Nanny's passed on, my dad's passed on, and
Yeah.
my granddad now, unfortunately, is the only one that's left, and he's just gone 89 there in May. So he's gone through a lot more than me, after obviously,
Yeah.
burying his wife and burying his son, which is, absolutely horrendous for
Yeah, of
anyone
course
to
it is.
do. So it's to be there for him as well. And again, Grandad's just so close to him. He's just like an older version of me. Like, he's just, yeah.
Love that.
But
Were they a totally sort of different reaction from you to
yeah.
your gran as soon as you heard your dad? Were your emotion? Could you not control your emotion this time? From
couldn't
no.
control the emotions this time, because as you can imagine, look, and I know everyone doesn't have the best, like, not everyone will have a best relationship with their dad, but for me, my dad was the foundation of my
Yeah.
life. Everything that I know, from Leeds United,
Leeds.
from skimming stones, riding your first bike, fishing.
He's your hero, isn't it, Darren? He's your hero.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything
he's the
you're looking at him.
everything you do, like, you look up
Yeah.
to him, and it's the same, mate. once your dad passes away, well then that's the one person in this world that wants to see you doing better than him, and that is your dad, and that's the way my
Yeah.
dad was. He always was always like that. Always, go do well in school. Always pushing me with football. Was always there. There was times where I'd probably go over the edge in football and get a couple of red cards, and he'd bring me back down to earth, then bring me home and give me a good stern talking. They'd never kind of hit me or anything,
No.
never anything like that. But he'd always just be like, "Come on, you're better than that." Always kind of push me to be more and do more and be kind of the best version of myself, and that was just the type of man that he was. So when you get that call, it's literally the foundations of your life just pulled out from underneath you, and your life is just in tatters. You don't know, you don't know what to do. There's you're getting texts, you're getting calls. Amy was coming up to me, and Amy was like standing right in front of me telling me things, but brain just not processing what she was saying until a couple of minutes later, and then I'm realizing what she's after saying and stuff like that. And as you said, yeah, completely different from the way I dealt with it with me nanny, because I had that previous experience that I can't do that again. I can't let myself go down. So straight away I was on the mode is that, right, my dad was always that type of people. He'd always turn around and say, if I ever do go, don't be crying over me. Like, I mean, have a good time, have a party, enjoy it. I'm happy up there. I don't have to, listen to you all basically again. I'm at peace up there away from you and stuff like
What
that.
a
Like
legend.
one of them, like proper messer. Like, so for them first few weeks, I kind of carried, my dad wouldn't want me to be sad. Every time I cried, I could just hear him in the back of my head going, "What the fuck are you crying for? Do you know what I mean? Give it up, will you? Like, don't be crying over me," like, and stuff like that. It was just the type of person he was. He was always saying, "Oh, I don't want black at my funeral," and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want you all kind of come in fancy dress and stuff like that. It was just the way he was. Like,
It sounds an absolute legend, mate. But the thing that got me after speaking to you, when you rung me to tell me news, was how quick a turnaround the funeral is. So for me,
yeah,
I can't weigh up if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But just go through the process for anyone that doesn't know. In Ireland, it's so quick as a turnaround. You haven't even got time to
yeah.
process it, Darren.
You haven't got time to process it. So my dad passed away on the Thursday. So obviously the coroners come. They take him down Thursday. He comes back down to my granddad's house down for the wake on the Saturday. So he's there Saturday, Sunday, and then the funeral's Monday morning. That's it. That's the quick turnaround. So you literally have 3 days over here in Ireland to kind of get your finances in check, your funeral arrangements made. It's a lot. It's a lot on the family. It's a lot on the people around you too. You're trying to organize music. You're trying to organize coffins. I know this morbid and stuff like this, but there's a lot going on in that time. And people are going to ask you questions. Oh, do you want this, or what type of flowers do you want? And you're like, I don't care.
You're torn between trying to do a good job to make him proud, but also I've still only known for 24, 48 hours that he ain't here no more. Like, I don't get how I mean, you do what you've got to do and you just do get through it, but that's honestly, you and your family did amazing to even,
it's quick. It's very, very quick. But for me, the main things is that, like, my dad was one of them with flowers. He didn't really care. It was always the core ones that he said that it was always he wanted to be, in a Leeds jersey, 100%. Leeds flag draped over the coffin and stuff like that, and a can of Guinness in beside him, and that's what he wanted. So and that's what he got.
It won't be far off what you want, Darren.
I won't be far off what I wanted. Yeah, exactly what I want as well. So it was nice because the jersey that he was buried in was obviously the Leeds away shirt from this season with the smiley badge, and the smiley badge was his favourite one, and I bought it for him for Christmas and stuff like that. So that was hard but nice, kind of seeing him in it, and they kind of getting us in beside him and his mobile phone, a couple of pictures of grandkids and stuff like that with messages that we wrote to him and that. But it's massive. It's a big turnaround for me. The funeral, the hardest part for me, and the hardest thing is still say that I had to do to this day was the eulogy that I had to write to, kind of give me dad a send off, because of 2 older sisters that, we kind of felt that and still do feel at the time that now, I have to be there for them. I have to be the one to, kind of protect them, even though I'm not the older one, that they'll bully me, the two of them, but, I'd have to be there to kind of protect them, and big shoes to fill and stuff like that. So yeah, that the hardest part for me was the eulogy, because I think I took about 3 days to write it. There was times I was writing it out and then that's it, and then come back in, rip up the paper, throw it in the bin. No, I'm not saying that. And then eventually it was just bullet points, and then when I stood up there in the chapel to do it, the church to do it, it came from the heart. And it was
brilliant. It was beautiful.
For me, that was the first kind of, not acceptance, I wouldn't say, but probably where I kind of said, right, I need to, attack this full on. I need to be proactive with it. I'm not going down the route of my nanny. If I'm feeling sad, I'm going to speak about it. If I am sad, I'm just going to put on that sad song, or I'm going to stick on Marching On Together. Marching On Together makes me cry now, or it used to make me happy. When I put it on, it makes me cry. But I stick Marching On Together now, and I have me cry, and then I go about my day. And it's okay then to be sad for them 10, 15 minutes, but don't let it consume you. Don't let that sadness linger for the 24 hours of your day. Have your 15 minutes. And that's what I've said to Amy, is that I'm like, Amy, I'm feeling a bit down. I'll go upstairs, play my song, have a little cry, come back down, and I'm brand new then, and I'm ready to go. So it's all about just not bottling it up. And they speak about obviously the 7 stages of grief, and you go through depression, denial, anger, guilt, bargaining, acceptance, and it's never in that order. It's always it's always up and down. They can be mixed up, and then you can get them all in one day, Matty. So I remember then I went through that period of time of that I was going to take it full on. I was going to turn all this kind of negative energy into something positive, do something positive, put all my mind into the Only Leeds Bros YouTube channel, how I'm going to make this better.
Yeah.
My dad was so proud of it and proud of what we were doing. Then I got this period of about 10 days where I was just sad, just could not stop crying. Like I was getting into my van driving to work, and the 30, 40 minute drive to work was just crying. I'd sit outside of my job, cry for 5 minutes, get myself together and go in and just pretend like nothing's happening. The same thing, the drive home, I'd cry the whole way home. And I'd tell Amy this, I'd be very open with my wife and say, look, today was a tough day. And I'd kind of come in, and you can imagine a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, running at you as soon as you come in the front door, and you're not mentally kind of ready for that yet. You kind of need just 10 minutes, go upstairs, get changed, have your shower, your little breather, come back down, and then you're ready to kind of be the dad then that you have to be then for them. So it's tough. Then I went through them 2 weeks, as I said, of just sadness, and some people might resonate with this. Then I went through a feeling of just being pure emotionless, where I could feel nothing, like nothing at all. Like I couldn't feel sad, couldn't feel happy, angry, hungry, no emotions whatsoever.
Does that mean even your family weren't bringing you joy in this moment? Even the kids, you had no joy, no nothing.
No joy. The weirdest sort of feeling that I've ever had in my life, and that's the numbness. And I've heard of this numbness, no feelings, but I didn't think it would be on this level. Like the little 1-year-old was like starting to walk, at least not walking, but he's walking along the couch and stuff like that, and seeing Amy sitting there, crying with joy, looking at him, and I'm looking at him, and in my head I'm like, oh my god, like he's starting to walk, but in my heart and in my body and in my mind, I'm like, why am I not feeling happy? Like, I'm like, why am I not happy? Like, it's my little boy. Like, why am I not happy that he's trying to walk? And just like the little things like that, or you'd be in a room full of people, kind of cracking jokes and stuff like that, and in theory be something that I'd be kind of the center of, having the crack, or having the slag with someone. I'd be sitting there kind of like, that's not funny, especially in work with the lads, because the group of lads that I work with, it's, as I said, it's, truck parts. So I work with a lot of kind of mechanics, and I think everyone knows what mechanics are kind of like, proper men's jokes and stuff like that. And it was just not finding kind of things funny, not really kind of being myself and stuff like that around people. And mainly kind of that part of the where I work in my job was obviously where I got the call about my dad. So every day I was driving into work, I had to pass that spot where I got the call. So that was like affecting me kind of massively. And then that I said, it was that feeling then, a numbness. And then the following week, then it was, I'm turning this into a positive energy. I was happy. I was thinking happy thoughts to me dad. I was, going down to the grave. I was sitting with him, having, just chatting to him basically. I know it sounds mad, standing in the grave, talking to a bit of turf, but it was bringing me like a lot of joy. And then something that I've continued on, because I'd always kind of text my dad good night every night. I'd always text him good night every night, and it's something that I still continue, still text him every single night. And some people probably think you're mad, Darren. But even when I told you, Matt, you would bring it to Leeds a little bit lighthearted. So obviously we were meant to travel over for the Bristol City game. That was the game that we were looking to go over for. Dad passed away in between that, and we weren't going to get over to the Bristol City game, and we decided to go for the Stoke game. So mainly to go over to see if Leeds United were going to get promoted. But for me, the number one thing was to lay a wreath at Ellen Road, which yourself and Elizabeth helped me out with, and that was the aim, to do that. So I didn't care if I didn't get a ticket for the Stoke game. I just wanted Leeds to get promoted and lay a wreath at Ellen Road for me dad, because that's what he would have wanted. And that day just fell together nicely. Went and laid a wreath at Ellen Road. It was very, very emotional. Leeds get promoted, and the whole time Leeds were 6-0 up. And I sat in Ellen Road with his bracelets that I was still wearing now, that lucky enough to have, holding onto the bracelets in the east stand of Ellen Road, praying And Amy turned around and said to me, Darren, it's 6-0 with 5 minutes to go. And I literally just said, you never know Leeds United. You never know Leeds United.
You know,
And yeah, went back to the Peacock then, and as I stood in the Peacock, couldn't even get a drink into me. Just the emotions was kind of overcome me. Watched Burnley and Sheffield United, and obviously when the final whistle blows, myself and Dylan just hugged, cried, laughed, danced, cried again, and it was just an unbelievable outpouring of emotions. And that day, I prayed so much to me dad, and I'm not a holy person, person whatsoever, but prayed to me dad the whole day that day would be like that in memory of him. And then I was away then for the last game of the season against Plymouth. And obviously we all know what way that went. And I think I told you the story, Matty. So I said to myself before the game, I'm not going to pray to my dad today. I asked him just to let us get promoted. I don't care about the championship, but that day I really cared about the championship. So obviously we go one down, and I'm going to say, right, I'm not going to say it to my dad. We get one back, and then literally it still gives me goosebumps. And it's a reason why I watch it back is when Willie Ronaldo picked up the ball, I grabbed my dad's bracelet and I just said, please, dad, please. 2 seconds later, Solomon has the ball in the back of the net, and Lynette and my cousin Lynette was with me, and Amy was with me, and I couldn't celebrate. I couldn't get up off my chair. There was just a heaviness, a weight, and I just sat there and cried, happiness, sadness, just everything, and all the emotions come out. But I think that's it. You have to be okay with them emotions that you're feeling. If you try and bottle them, you try and suppress them, you're really only doing more damage for yourself. And this kind of thing is, being the man's man, and don't cry, and yeah, I'm okay, and I'm getting on with this is no good for you. It's no good for you in the long run.
Do you, obviously you say you're not a holy person and all that, do you feel your dad, his presence, when you're saying moments like that where you grab his breath? Do you feel like there's something else? Do you feel like your dad's around you every day? Do you see him in your family? Have you got that piece which is going to put you at peace and make you
I think more so it's more guidance, Matty. Like I wouldn't sit here and say, my dad's sitting there behind me, and I can feel him there and stuff like that. Not stuff like that, but more so can feel kind of his guidance, in life where, situations where he'd be like, well, what would my dad want? What way would he want me to do? And I kind of let his kind of advice through my life kind of guide me now to things, things to do. And like, as I said about you, is that a lot of relationships that I mended when he passed away as well, because he was always one of them where, life is far too short. He always said that life's too short, and he hated fighting, hated any kind of sort of confrontation. Always wanted to, squash things and, move on with life and shake hands and get on with it and stuff like that. And that's one thing I think that I've carried on now, is that to be okay with people. Like, you might have a fight, you might have a fall now, don't talk to each other for 2 or 3 days, but then turn around and go, yeah, look, it was a bit of a dick the other day, let's 100%. Get on with it, shake hands and move on and stuff like that. And that's what I try to do. So yeah, not more so kind of feeling, but more so kind of let everything that he's kind of taught me through my life kind of guide me now, and be a little bit more kind of independent, be a little bit more sensible, kind of grow up a little bit and stuff like that. But yeah.
How do you feel in terms of that pressure of, I know you're not the eldest, you've got 2 older sisters, like you say, but like, especially with Dillo, we all know onlyleedsbros, you and Dillo. How's it been having to be his pillar of strength? Because I'm assuming he's needed that too. He's needed to look at his big brother and you guide him while you're struggling. Yeah. Is that a pressure you felt? Has he had moments where he's had to contact you and you've had to give him that? Or
yeah, well, basically about myself and Dylan, not many people know this, but we don't really like to say it, myself and Dylan, but myself and Dylan are half brothers.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've told you this, Matty, but basically my mum and my dad broke up when I was 2, and my mum then got with Dylan's dad, and to this day, Dylan's dad, Richard, is like my second dad as well. Yeah. He was always there. Him and my dad got on. They work in tandem with each other. Right. He was a massive part of my life. He is a massive part of my life still. Yeah. And it worked vice versa. My dad always treated Dylan like he was one of his own. That's why Dylan is a Leeds fan, because of my dad, and would always bring him over to Leeds and treat him like, he was one of his own. So yeah, it did. It hit Dylan hard as well, because they had that messing relationship, the 2 of them. When the 2 of them would see each other, they'd slag each other off straight away. And my dad would always turn around and give Dylan a little pat in the belly and go, "You're pregnant there, son," and like all that kind of type of messing and stuff like that. And anything that Dylan kind of went through his life. I remember when Dylan's girlfriend was pregnant on Kyle, and I rang my dad to tell him. My dad was crying down the phone. I don't think I've ever told Dylan that, but my dad was crying down the phone and going, "Ah, my little pal, about to become a dad," and stuff like that. He had a lot of pride in Dylan, but Dylan is for me, and he knows it. Like my brother and my best pal, like everything and anything. Like we ring each other and we lean on each other massively, massively.
Yeah. You're dead tight. It comes across in your content. You're just so genuine. The new show you do on a Saturday morning is it just shows that. You can't help but smile when you see you both on screen together. You know, I love it when you're both together as opposed to just like we are
Just
now.
separate, yeah.
Love it, absolutely love it. The dynamic you two have got. You know, it's how it should be with brothers. Half brother, full. It don't matter. Your brothers are you, and
I mean
I
that's we're
love it.
brothers. We never ever say half brothers.
No,
It's never been one of them. It's always been brothers because essentially I was two. You know, Dylan's what four or 5 years younger than me. Like so, I've known nothing less. He's always been the brother. But we done everything.
exactly.
We lived together all our lives. You know, we're brothers.
So bringing it back to the whole Leeds United, because we can't really not speak much about that. I know you've touched on it for that Stoke coming over for that Stoke game, but the memories of your childhood, your dad, obviously, you know, if he's done one thing right, especially mate in life, it's putting you down the Leeds United path, like unbelievable. I mean, where does your dad's love for Leeds United come out? Where did that come from? Obviously, being Irish, where did that start?
Yeah. So again, it's the 70s. Like any Leeds fan over here that's around my age, even a little bit younger, would have all kind of came from their dads and that 70s, that Don Revy team. And I think that's why you'll see some of the interviews that we do on Only Leeds Bros with that kind of older generation that we've done with, with Nick Varden, Heidi Hay, and Adrian Carney. It was a good pal to me dad. They lived in the same town together. They all supported Leeds United through that Don Revy side, and I just always remember how fondly my dad spoke about that Leeds team. You know, your Giles, your Longmores, your Bremners, and he taught me so much about the Leeds history without even seeing it. You know, I could tell you everything about that Leeds generation because my dad just drummed it into me, and then he done wonders because he brought me to my first game in Talca Park here in Dublin to play Shelbourne, and it was that Leeds won 6-1 that day. And I think Robbie Keane scored 4. Gary Kelly was there, Ian Hart. But the one real hook, and I know it's mad saying it because obviously he went across the pen lines, but it was Alan Smith, the white hair, the white kit, the white boots. It was just like, wow, he was just, and he was aggressive and he was flying into tackles and he was just, and I was just like,
he was Leeds, wasn't he, mate? He was just
Leeds. And he was Leeds, and I didn't even know he was Leeds, and I was only then when I got home, and we hadn't even got Google at the time or any of that. It was get the program and find out, who this lad was, Alan Smith, and then the following weekend, then after that, I remember going up. I think Leeds were playing Bolton. I think it could have been Bolton, and I remember Alan Smith playing, and I just fell in love with Leeds United from there. And as you said, that's what mostly our foundation of father and son was kind of built off was Leeds United. And the first time he brings me over to Ellen Road, we lost 4-0 to Sheffield United. Kevin Blackwell was in charge of Leeds. Neil Warnock was in charge of Sheffield United. We got thumped 4-0. And it was just, it was an unbelievable day. And people say, geez, how do you still support Leeds after, your first game at Ellen Road getting thumped 4-0. But it was just me and my dad going to Ellen Road. And I remember just Ellen Road just opening up in front of me, and I can still smell it. The grass, the smell of the grass cut. It was a bit of a wet day, and the smell of the grass is something that really stuck with me. We're right down the front of the East Stand, right down the very front towards the Cop. And I remember the whole of Ellen Road just chanting Aaron Lennon. He was on the bench at the time, and they were just chanting Lennon. Eventually came on, and he was unbelievable. And yeah, we came out of Ellen Road, and we had a burger at the Bremner statue, and he turned around and said to me, "It's okay, son, if you don't want to support Leeds United." And I said, "Are you mad?" So we went into the club shop and bought a CD with Marching On Together. I think had 2 or 3 other songs on it. A Leeds jacket, and then that was it. Just spiraled, just Leeds mad. And then our whole relationship then was built off that. So before games, and especially when we started Only Leeds Bros, before we'd go live on stream, do watch alongs, we'd give him a bell. How are you thinking about today? Blah blah blah. We'd have our chat. We'd come on, do our watch along, do our match reaction. So after match reaction, I'm ringing Dad. What do you think? What do you think about that one today? And that's probably for me what I look at. That's probably the biggest kind of miss is that Leeds United. It still hurts when I'm watching Leeds matches not to kind of have that call after games to get his thoughts on the game and what he thought, because he'd always, and I'd turn around and say, he played well today, and he'd be like, no, he wasn't, he was shy today. Do you not see me out the times? He'd just be one of them. And the hardest one for me was obviously the Luton game when we drew 1-0 when Dan James scored the equaliser that day. I sat here and watched it with Dylan, and for the first time in my life I was so disinterested in a Leeds United game because I just felt like I had no connection with the game. it sounds mad, but the game didn't matter to me. When I look back at the result, I'm like, what was I
No.
thinking? But at that time, there was more to life than football. There was
Yeah,
more to life than Leeds United. And I
100%.
remember after the game was over, I turned around and I said it to Dylan. I said, I don't know if we can support Leeds anymore. And Dylan goes, Darren, what are you talking about? Mad even saying this. But
Yeah.
I felt like because my dad was gone and my dad gave me Leeds, that I somehow didn't have the right to support Leeds anymore, which is mad saying that out loud. But that
Yeah,
was the feeling that this is your mind, playing all this in your head. Like, can I really support Leeds to the fullest anymore? Can I have the
you
same
really
love?
punish yourself, you Darren.
Yeah,
You really
yeah.
punish yourself. Really,
Yeah,
really
like,
hard
am
on
I allowed?
yourself.
Yeah, am I allowed to do that? Because essentially he can't support Leeds anymore. Like, am I allowed to do it? And it's just, again, mate, it's just a way of kind of dealing with grief and stuff like that. And it can come in all, as I said, all shapes and sizes. There's days where you're absolutely fine and you're having a good day, and you're
Yeah.
thinking about them with good memories and good times and having a bit of a chuckle, and then all of a sudden it might be just one sense of smell, it might be one song, or it might just be an emotion that just comes out of nowhere just like that, and you just stand there and you just cry, and it takes you completely off guard. And a couple of pictures of my dad up now in the house, there's times I walk past them and I always kind of give him the nod, I give him the lead salute as I walk by them when I'm going to bed, and
Love that.
I'll be fine. And then there's other times where I just stop and I just look at the photo and cry, and then I toddle off then to bed then after that. But I think the main thing to take from it, and as I said, mate, we're all gonna go through it. Unfortunately, nowadays, it's to be open with yourself and let your body feel whatever emotions that you're going through.
Yeah, great
Let your
advice.
body process it. Don't stop it. Don't suppress it. Don't hide it away. Just feel it. This week, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, and you might have seen on some of the Only Leeds Bros streams that we've had, is I'm extremely irritable. Like, everything, everything is just really irritating me. And again, it's just another stage of grieving where the smallest little things is just really getting to me. Like, driving the car, someone pulls out in front of me, just so like want to lose it, want to go mad.
Yeah,
Like, the little lad to be crying and he might be just crying for 2 seconds. I'm like, what's he crying for? Like, everything's just very irritable. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
My house is like your house, Matty. Like, the kids' toys everywhere. Getting really
Manic.
irritable over that. Why is there toys everywhere? But Amy's like, before you never cared about the toys before, but it's just one of them things where, like, you just have to live with it. And then I said to Amy then last week, I said, Amy, I don't know what's going on. I said, but at the moment I'm feeling irritable. Everything is just, I told you about Amy with the toothpaste before, where she squeezed the
Yeah,
toothpaste from the top and not from the bottom.
yeah.
So yeah, last week I really got to me. Like, well, stop squeezing the toothpaste from the top. She's like, I've been doing this 6 years, like, and you're getting irritating over it now. Like, it comes, as I said, it comes in different waves and different things, but you have to process it. You have to take it on the chin, and more importantly, you just have to speak whatever emotions that you're feeling, is just speak about it, because you always get this feeling of, it's only 12 weeks ago since my dad passed away, and it's obviously you get a couple of days off work, and then it's like as soon as you go back to work, it's like you're back to normal life. Then you know
Yeah,
what I mean. People kind of get on
yeah,
with it, and you're back into routine, and it's over with. But it's not for you. And I've obviously done like a lot of kind of research on it, because I do want to be better. At the end of the day, I've got a YouTube channel to try and run that I want to get better. I've got
yeah,
a full-time job that I want to improve on in that as well. I've got a wife and kids, who's the most important thing in my life, and I want to be well for them. So I've done all the type of research that you can imagine, the stages of how to get over grief, how to deal with them, that I'm not taking it out on them, and I haven't. I've just been open with it. But I came across a lovely analogy, and I hope this kind of helps someone here. And it's something that really helps me, is that grief is like a stone in your pocket, that you'll carry it everywhere. It will always be with you, will never go away. People won't know it's in your pocket. It'll always be there, and you'll always feel it. But there will come a time where you won't. The stone will always be there. You won't feel that stone anymore, but you get stronger. You just learn how to live with it. You know it's there, but you just learn how to get past it. And that's what I think, is that the grief will always be there. And people always say, "Oh, time's the healer, time's the healer." For me, is as time's going on, it's the worse it's getting, because it's the more that you miss them. But it's about acknowledging that, and as you said, Matty, keeping their memory alive, keep talking about them, doing stuff like this. And myself and Dylan, I said it 2 or 3 days after Dad passed away. I said, I need to do something to honor his memory. I need to do something to say I've done that for Dad. So we're doing a cycle on the August bank holiday weekend over here in
yeah.
Ireland. We're doing, obviously Dad passed away when he was 60, so we're doing a 60-kilometer cycle from Dylan's house down to Dad's grave, in his memory and in aid of the Irish Heart Foundation, who do life saving work. So at the minute we're absolutely delighted. We're after raising £750 as of
Cool.
now. So the aim is 1,000. So we're well and truly on our way of doing that. And I think again that's just a way for me to process it. Feel like
Of
I'm doing
course.
something, channeling them emotions and that energy into something. You know, the 60k cycle is going to be horrendous. It's going to
You're
absolutely
doing it
bore
again.
me
You're punishing yourself again, but in a positive way.
in
And
a positive way.
it's going to raise money. It gives you something to focus on. The
Yeah.
whole journey, you'll be thinking of your dad. I think you're discussing memories, thinking of all the good moments. You're going to have dark moments in there when you're struggling. It's going to
Yeah.
be, I'll be putting the link in here as well. So we'll get the link
Mm.
in here for you as well, mate, to hear some more. But yeah, I absolutely love how open you are, mate. And it's refreshing to hear that you aren't, you ain't bottling it up. And I was going to ask you for what advice you'd say to someone, but I think you've sort of ticked that off during this chat. It's just as simple as it is. Just don't let it build up. Speak,
Don't
open
let
up,
it build.
and yeah, I
No,
think
there's days, Matty, where you don't want it. There's days
of
where
course,
there's days where you just say, just leave me alone and just let me actually feel. What am I feeling? Let me
and
actually
that's
just sit here for
okay.
10 minutes. Yeah,
That's okay.
and that's what I've said to Amy as well, because I think especially in them first couple of days, you can imagine, you know, it's not that you're on suicide watch, but people are constantly ringing you and checking in on you, and you know how you doing and how you feeling, are you feeling all right and stuff like that. But there's times where you're just like, I just need
You just want
to
to
just sit here
unplug,
for
Darren,
10
don't
minutes
you?
and
And just
just
be let,
feel.
just leave.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Just want to feel myself. Like, what am I feeling? Just sit here for 10 minutes. Like, what's my brain thinking? What's my body feeling? Am I happy? Am I sad? So there's times like that as well, where it might just be the littlest things where you do have that numbness, where you just take 10 minutes to yourself and just go, right, why am I feeling this? It's okay that I'm feeling happy. It's okay that I'm feeling sad. It's okay that I'm angry. I'm irritable. All that type of stuff. So yeah, hopefully one day I can kind of get to that stage where I can say, look, I've accepted it and kind of not moved on, but I've kind of accepted me dad. But I don't think that grief will ever go away. It'll always be
No.
occasions like Father's Weekend. Last weekend was obviously the big one. Christmas will always be a big one. His
Yeah, of
birthday,
course it will.
and every time Leeds United play, every time Leeds United kick a ball, will always be there as well. But it's just it's a matter of having good people around you as well, and just telling people what you're feeling. It's so important.
100%. I was going to end on that, but I'd just like to know, what would your dad be thinking and projecting going into the Premier League season? What kind of fan was your dad? Will he have been saying, "Ooh, it's going to be tight. We're going to get your passport out. We're off into Europe." What sort of fan were your dad, mate? What will he have been saying?
Right now, this moment of time, he was saying Bamford has to go. That's what he was saying. Bamford has to go. He's been saying that for the last 3 years. Bamford has to go. He loved Bamford when he was in the Premier League, and now that we're
Yeah,
back there, he was saying, "Yeah, Bamford has to go. We need better." But my dad was always a positive Leeds fan
love it.
all the time, and it didn't matter whether we were coming up against Real Madrid. He was one of them where he always felt like, you know, we could beat them. More Leeds.
Love it.
It's us against the world. He had
Love
that
it.
old kind of skill type of Leeds fans vibe, as you've seen. It
Mm,
comes across in Adrian's interviews and Mick
yeah,
Farden's interviews. It's Leeds, like, and I always said to my dad, if we could cut you open, you'd bleed blue, yellow, and white, because he
love
loved
it.
the club. And that's it. Like, I'm sure he's looking down. And again, the first opening weekend when Leeds are walking out of the road against Everton, I'd be looking up to heaven and going, "Come on, Dad, let us get 3 points the open day of the Premier
Yeah,
League
man.
season." So he's there, and hopefully he has a front row seat there, and he's watching over the lads.
Love that, mate. Beautiful. So if you don't know who Darren is, Only Leeds Bros, you've got to go check him out. Saturday morning, it's now their slot in the YouTube scene. Hopefully it'll build on and build on. Honestly, love this new show you're doing with Dylan. Do you want to touch on anything, what's coming up on your show, just so anyone can watch it?
Yeah, so
About what?
as I said, like, Only Leeds Bros has basically taken a different stance since Dad passed away, as you can imagine, and you'd know Matty from running. Imagine not being Leeds, you're new to the game, you know, you're a little puppy amongst it, you know, a pack of wolves, basically, you know, trying to
Yeah,
find your way. What's for me? What's my niche, and stuff like that. And we helped each other out a lot through it, and
yeah,
then first kind of couple of months, you know, you're looking at numbers, you're looking at subs, you're looking at views, you know, the people like what I'm doing, am I putting all this effort in for nothing? And then when Dad passed away, I basically just got this kind of peace with Only Leeds Bros, because he always used to just turn around and say, just enjoy it, just enjoy it. And a great piece of advice that he gave me, I think we were stuck around 450 views at the time. I think we were around the same
yeah,
at that time, where, you know, subs and views weren't really kind of going anywhere, and I was
yeah.
putting a lot of time and effort into it. And my dad just turned around and said, "Darren, if 400 people showed up outside your door tomorrow morning," he said, "you'd be shocked." And then it just put it into perspective a little
Mm,
bit. And he
yeah,
just always said to me, he said, "Don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers." He said, "If one person's sitting there watching it and they're enjoying it," he said, "and I'm sitting there watching it and I'm enjoying it." So that's what we basically do on Only Leeds Bros. We do it for him. At the moment, we spoke to you about it. We try to find our way. Obviously, our first summer doing it. We're not big on doing transfers, but you kind of have to. There's nothing else to talk about in the off season, so we don't really go too too much into depth of like the rumor mill kind of loose links kind of stuff on YouTube. Only when stuff is kind of put out by the YEP or kind of the more credible kind of journalists will have a speak about it and try and get everyone else's kind of opinion on it, give ours, and try and give everyone the platform to kind of give theirs and kind of build a community that people can kind of come and talk and speak about Leeds United openly, freely, you know, without being, you know, your opinion's wrong or anything like that. So we would like to think we're building, you know, an open kind of space. And then White's wake up has been something that's probably been in the back of the head for the last 6 months, where like yourself might be doing something different, like what you're doing now, something outside the box, because inside that Leeds United box is been very much taken up by, you know, your watch alongs, your previews, your match reactions, your player ratings. Everybody's doing it, and I think in me, myself, and Dylan, and you have the similar trait as well, mate. Is that you want to do something different and something where you can rubber stamp it and you say, you know, that's my mark and that's what I'm doing, and I'm doing something different. And myself and Dylan thought about it for so long, and it literally came out of the blue, and it probably a bit of me dad in it as well. Soccer AM every Saturday morning was me and my dad's thing. We loved it. We laughed about it. The crossbar challenges, the drill, skill, all that. We loved all that stuff. And myself and Dylan always kind of thought about a way of how do we kind of bring Soccer AM back with a Leeds United twist in it. And I was kind of saying, yeah, but Dylan, we'll never get Jermaine Begford to do the crossbar challenge for us. And then Dylan was like, well, why don't we just do it? Why don't we put our own little kind of show together where, you know, we do a couple of, you know, quizzes, like kind of light-hearted sort of stuff where people can kind of say, I'm not in the humour listening to transfers, I'm not in the humour listening or buying him or selling him or trouble with the club. I just want to sit there, watch something that's with a Leeds United twist with a little bit of kind of fun element in it. So that's where we're kind of at the minute. We obviously have hopefully big plans for it. We've got good feedback on it so far, so we've got a couple of plans on it the next couple of weeks, and obviously the Creator Cup has come up as well. Love to get other creators involved in it, where, you know, whether we're doing crossbar challenge or a couple of challenges today at the Creator Cup, and the main part is just enjoying them, and that's me and Dylan's kind of bread and butter now. The crack that we have making that and putting that together, it's better anything else we've done on Only Leedsbros.
I'm so jealous that one of my brothers is a Chelsea fan, and I don't have what you and Dillo have got. So like I say, the love you have for each other, the banter you have, it's a great channel. It's one of the best channels out there for that sort of content. And you know I've always said that. So please check out Only Leedsbros. The link will be in the description too if you don't know who they are. I'm sure you do, but if you don't, get over there and check them out. But yeah, thanks so much, Darren, for coming on to Full Time to Talk. Really nice for me to have someone I'm comfortable speaking to as well, even though it's an uncomfortable topic. But I really appreciate you opening up, and like you say, if it does help one person, mate, which that's the main thing with this channel. I don't bother if it goes out to masses or not. It'd be nice to, but if it helps one person, every video I do, I've already had feedback off the one I did with Jake from Puncture 41. I've already had feedback from there that, you know, it reached a couple of people who suffered with FND, and that's helped them. So hopefully anyone going through grief will take massive strength from you speaking today, buddy. And
I just said, mate, it's massive what you're doing. And again, I want to thank you for giving me the platform to come on, because I feel better after coming on and having this conversation with you and sharing with you as people. And like what you said, if it just helps one person to turn around and say, well, look, I might take something like that. I might throw on a song and have a little cry when I'm missing that one person is to go and do it. And I just said it's massive what you're doing, mate, because it isn't talked about enough, and it did deserve its own channel. It did deserve its own segment. So what you're doing is unbelievable, pal. Keep it up, and I'm sure knowing how hard you're going to work at this, it's going to be very big. So fair play.
Thanks, mate. Absolutely love you a bit. Thank you so much for coming on, buddy. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Lads. Thanks very much.
I'll speak to you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.